Welcome, everyone, to the IDP show. I'm your guest host, Justin Varnes from Fantasy Points. You can follow me on Twitter at Down with IDP. We're here to talk about 7 IDPs. I'm hoping to buy these guys in a lot of drafts. So a couple things about the 7 that I picked. One, I tried to spread it out in terms of draft order or priority. So we're going to start at the top. We're going to talk about like top 12. Top 15 type players, and then by the end, some players I'm hoping to buy later in the drafts. Also, kind of mixing up the positions as well. First player we're going to talk about, if you've heard any of me rambling on the IDP show this offseason, you'll already know who this guy is. My man crush just gets bigger and bigger on him, and that's Chargers linebacker Daiyan Henley. He pulled down 147 tackles last season. I think the Chargers are going to be racking up tackles or racking up snaps, at least their defense will. So I think he's also in a good position there. He's young. He's in his prime. Players like Junior Colson, Denzel Perryman, these guys don't worry me. They seem to worry other people I'm in with drafts, which is good news for me. So I'm happy to try to take him a little bit later than maybe some of the bigger names will fall. But I think he's got LB1 written all over him. All of his arrows are pointing up for me. He's the number 1 guy I'm trying to buy in drafts this year. Number 2, we're going to stick at the linebacker position. Also kind of in that LB1 or LB2 category. Similar thing, we got an up-and-coming player who's had a few people get out of his way, and that's Jets linebacker Jamien Sherwood. Man, he had a great season last year, 150-something tackles. Solo tackles, he finished too short of hitting that century mark for solo tackles, which obviously can help us depending on your scoring. So we love to see that. More than the Chargers, I'm expecting the Jets defense to be on the field a lot this year. Obviously, that helped Sherwood last year. The important thing here is that they did not re-sign C.J. Mosley. This just kind of opens up the floodgates. I think we're going to see 100% participation from Sherwood this year. Again, like Henley, arrows pointing up. I like his metrics. I like his age. He's kind of coming into his prime. Feels like a stronger bet than maybe some of the older vets, or maybe there's some other question marks, but bigger names that I think are getting drafted sooner. Let's move into the LB2 range. To me, this is a player I end up taking shots on. He was just god-awful his rookie year. Kenneth Murray. He started with the Chargers. Speaking of Chargers linebackers, kicked around last year, actually had a pretty good season. Inconsistent, yes, but we started to see at least flashes of that first-round talent. Not that I'm expecting him to be this first-round talent this year, but I do like where he lands, and I do think there's some stability there, if for no other reason that just the competition around him is less. So Murray is with the Cowboys now. We've seen that defense, solid but not amazing, or athletic players like Leighton Vander Esch put up good numbers there. I think he's going to have less safety tackle competition that they've had in the past there for the Cowboys. So Murray's a guy that I'm trying to take. I think has LB3 potential, but he's a name that people are just kind of a little bit sleeping on. A safety that I'm trying to take as often as possible, that's Chiefs safety Jayden Hicks. Just full disclosure, I might have a big bias here because as I watched him ascend last year, starting to get more and more snaps on that Chiefs defense, including as they were making their playoff push and then obviously into the playoffs and into the Super Bowl, what we saw is his snaps were climbing. His metrics look good. We just saw the coaching staff. We saw Spags give him more and more duties, start to really rely on him more. Because of that, because we kind of saw the writing on the wall there, I had quite a few bets in on him for going over the tackle mark. He won me quite a bit of money. But I really do like him. I think he's a really good fit there. I just love that toward the end of the year, when it mattered most, Spags was starting to give him more and more snaps. There's obviously some room there. They did not bring Justin Reed back. So we're getting to see a little bit. Now, I just think he's going to have a full-time role there. And remember, the defense, unless Spags really changes things up, we don't see a ton of consistent tackle production from their linebackers. So we saw Justin Reed have a really good season last year. I could see Hicks having at least, if not better season than that. Let's move on to defensive end. I want to talk about a player that I'm trying to buy because I think people have been spooked by a free agent signing, and that's Bills defensive end AJ Epenesa. To me, the signing of Joey Bosa is a lot like when they signed Von Miller. I think the Bills, and this is not the first time they've done this. We've talked about just Von Miller now, but they've done it before. A lot of teams will do this. They'll sign, they'll bring in these veteran pass rushers and basically say, look, stay on the sidelines, stay fresh, 3rd and long, we're going to send you out there. I don't see Bosa having a full-time role. They obviously know what an injury risk is. This guy cannot stay healthy. He cannot stay on the field. We've seen athletes like this who just for some reason their soft tissue composition just can't take it over and over again. When he was signed there, I saw Epenesa's stock draft drop. I think that's a mistake. I think Epenesa is going to play plenty, and I think they're going to use Bosa like they used Von Miller, which I think is actually a really smart move, because when he's healthy, he really can be an impact player, but they're clearly going to try and limit his snaps to keep him as healthy as possible. That leaves plenty of snaps for Epenesa. And often in those sorts of situations, we're probably going to see some of these NASCAR packages where instead of having 2 defensive tackles in the middle and only 2 edges, we might have 3 edges, in which case Epenesa is going to be on the field for that too. So, and having Bosa next to him is only going to help. So I like taking Epenesa as like a third DL, possibly a fourth. I'd love to get him at a fourth. Let's stick in that could be a 3, could be a 4, getting drafted as a 4 or a 5 type player, and that's Steelers linebacker Payton Wilson. The Steelers linebacker situation obviously has been a mess ever since Ryan Shazier went down. They tried last year with Patrick Queen, who, remember last year, that was insane. I remember like early in the season, there was some game he had like 3 tackles. Like, oh, that was weird. Okay, then the next game he had like 4 tackles. We're like, he's on the field. What is he doing? Well, he got better toward the end of the year. Things kind of stabilized there. But to me, I think people are looking at that situation wondering, we can't really fully trust Patrick Queen. They did sign Cole Holcomb. They have Nick Herbig there. But I don't think either of those players has quite the potential that Payton Wilson is. So again, we're looking at somebody kind of like what when we talked earlier. When you see these other players around and you see what looks like traffic, I don't see a player like Cole Holcomb who has bounced around. We've seen what he can do with his starting snaps. I don't see that getting in the way of Payton Wilson. He was a role player last year, but from week 11 on, this is really the important thing for me. From week 11 on, what happened to Payton Wilson was he seemed to become a more stable player. He seemed to move a little faster. We saw his PFF grades start to jump. Weeks 1 through 9, pretty inconsistent player. He's young, right? So not a lot going on, but there toward the end of the season, and he started earning more snaps. I would not be surprised if he ends up the starter there next to Patrick Queen. And given Queen's instability in terms of how many, racking up 10, 12 tackles a game. I'm not sure we're going to get that from Patrick Queen out here. Either way, this is a guy I'm buying because I just think he's essentially off the radar, and he could easily end up with 100 tackles as the LB2 there for the Steelers. Finally, let's wrap up with actually a rookie. In Dynasty, I'm buying this guy. I'm probably spending more draft capital on him than I should. In redraft, however, this is the type of player I want to just make sure toward the end of the draft that he's one of these guys I'm taking with me. I just feel like toward the end of the season, we're going to see this guy blossom, and that's Ravens edge rusher Mike Green. I have strengths and weaknesses as an IDP analyst, right? One of the things that I have never purported to be is a guy who studies film, and I watch film, right? But there are people in this industry who that is their specialty. They have been watching film for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. They know what they're looking at on a whole other level than me. And I don't like being one of those guys that acts like I can watch tape and see all these things that these experts can. So instead, what I do is buddy up with them and ask their opinions. So there are 2 film analysts who I've trusted for years who really believe that Mike Green is the complete package. He obviously doesn't carry, the name of some of the other edge rushers in this class, but the Ravens took him 59th overall. That's pretty solid draft capital. I would not be surprised if by Halloween he's probably playing a 60 to 70% role. I really think, just because I think he's probably one of the most NFL ready players. When I say I think that, I'm saying they think that, and they told me that's the deal. To me, he's a sneaky pick. He's just, the Ravens have a lot of pass rushers. This guy could go under the radar, could be the kind of player who comes up big for you later in the year. So he's a guy I'm trying to buy at the end of the draft. Those are my 7 players. Trying to cover a lot of ground, top, middle, and back of the drafts. We're mainly still focused on redraft here, but hopefully this will help you. I have some players I'm also looking to sell. If you're interested in buying, then I'll be happy to hop on and hopefully talk about that in the future. Until then, thanks to everybody from IDP Show. Thanks for having me on as a guest. We will see you on the next one.